Indeed, it was with shock the entertainment industry received news of the passing of frontline movie maker Chico Ejiro yesterday, December 25th, Christmas Day, plunging the industry into mourning. According to reports, he died around 2 a.m. in the morning after experiencing a seizure, believed to be a heart attack. One of the pioneers of Nollywood when it kicked off in the early 90s, Ejiro mentored a generation of movie makers, actors and actresses, and was the brain behind movies like Silent Night, Blood Money and Deadly Affair, among others. Nicknamed Mr. Prolific, he directed over 80 movies within a 5-year period. The exact number of movies he has worked on as either director, producer or both is unknown, but in the neighborhood of hundreds as of 2007. He was profiled in articles in the New York Times and Time magazine in 2002. And ever since his sudden and shocking death, tributes have been pouring in for the creative who died just after wrapping up work on his latest movie project.
Around the throne tonight, your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
Sad passing. Well, let me quote veteran movie actor and producer, IT journalist Don Pedro Agambi. Chico Ejiro leapfrogged Nollywood with his classic movie Silent Night. He was an authentic pace-setter, but sadly, Chico is now silent forever. Well, let's bring in two of his close colleagues, veteran filmmaker and actor Segun Arinze and Charles Novia, as they both join us now to discuss one of the pioneers of Nollywood. Good to have you join us, both of you, Segun Arinze and Charles Novia. This must have been a really, really heartbreaking news. I mean, it is bad enough, for someone to pass. But again, you pass on Christmas Day. Tell us how you received that news, Segun.
I'm still in shock, in utter shock. I don't know what to say. I'm completely overwhelmed. When I heard it yesterday, I was actually in church when Kabat called me. That's Charles Novia's younger brother, called me, and I picked up the phone. I said, I'm in church, I'll call you. And he said, read your message. And I saw it, and I was like, what's going on? I had to run out of church. My wife was asking me what the problem was, and before I knew it, all platforms, Nollywood platforms that I belong, I just started saying messages. I tried to reach out to quite a number of people, and they confirmed it. That if I was Charles, I even confirmed it in the group Filmmaker, that he was one of those that he joined in taking the body to the morgue. I was devastated. Just in the middle of planning a production, the return of Black Arrow, and this happened. So sad, so sad.
Indeed, sad moments. Now, Charles, Chico Ejiro made his mark in the 90s with home videos. But beyond this, what would he be remembered for?
Thank you, Nii. First of all, I'd like to send my condolences again to the family and friends and well-wishers. We've really lost an icon in the industry, in the African creative industry, not just the film industry. And Chico was just not an ordinary filmmaker. He was more or less a legend whose works and whose propensity to do films, which were more often than not hits of an era, and which transcends and beyond the era we know as home videos into Nollywood. Those things will be studied in years to come. I think we've lost a gem. We've lost someone. Okay, in the African oral tradition, historically, they say if an old man dies or if somebody dies, a storyteller dies with a whole lot of history and library or libraries are gone. And this is what has happened too. We've lost a giant storyteller and a library of information, which mercifully, he passed some on to those his peers and those he sort of trained. That is lost. A lot of us lost. So he still quite died. He died young, below. He's not up to 60. He was 50 something, I think, and that's really a huge loss to all of us who knew him.
Well, Segun, you were talking about a production, but that aside, he actually completed a movie, Relapse, and he completed it just the eve before he died. I mean, how do you comprehend that?
It's crazy. It's really crazy. I like I said, I'm just bewildered. I'm lost. I'm at the loss for words to say. He just completed the project. I actually saw him. I saw him at the filling station. He was buying fuel, and he tapped up my window because I was also buying fuel, and we just talked. And said, I was telling him that the would-be executive producer of The Return of Black Arrow, that he has not spoken with him in a while. I should get in touch with him. I said, okay, don't worry, I will get back to the guy. And we just generally just joked. Because he tapped at my window, I said, your money or your life, and I said, will you stop that? He now said, Black Arrow. We just joked, and he left. He said he was going to wrap up the set. He was shooting. And the next thing I'm hearing that he wrapped up his set and wrapped up his life. I still can't wrap it around my head. It sounds so crazy. This was a guy so full of life, had ideas, like Charles rightly said. He was a colossus, an icon, somebody. Chico could make something out of nothing. He could make something out of nothing. Just sit down here, we were talking, just next thing, he built up a story, and before you knew it, even if there isn't money, I used to call him the master of low budget. He will know how to turn around the low budget thing and still make something out of it. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. But we thank God for his life, that in so short a time that he achieved a lot. And my heart goes out to Joy, Zeb, and Peter Red, and the entire family of the Ejiros. And indeed, the Nollywood family. My heart goes out to everybody. Let's all be strong. Let's all be strong.
Indeed, Segun, creativity at its best there. Now, Charles, drawing from Chico Ejiro's efforts as a filmmaker over time, what has changed over the years? We're now seeing actors going into filmmaking. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that has to do with adaptative tendencies, and that is very normal. It's also a worldwide trend. But I would also say that if I zone it down to Nollywood, some aspects of that must have been encouraged too by Chico, because there was a point in time when the producers had sway and the marketers had sway, and so everybody was feeling that everybody wanted to go into it, wanted to get into directing and producing. But the actors too, I think from an existentialist point of view, actors usually would have their day in the sun. All the years you have your fame is your day in the sun. So when the night comes, you want to also diversify. So it's all very healthy. And actors going to producing and going to directing is all part of what they have learned. They've learned over the years from being in front of the camera and seeing how it's done. I think they also will make good producers and directors when they learn the right ropes too as well. So it's all good.
Chico, I beg your pardon. Segun, let's look at Chico's legacies now. He had a production company, Grand Touch Pictures. Is there any hope of continuity? Was there some sort of succession plan?
I wouldn't know if there was any succession plan, because this just happened so suddenly. But I know that Joy, the wife, is also an executive director in the company. And I think his first son or daughter, I think, is also part of the company. But I know for sure that Grand Thought Pictures would not go into oblivion. I know that Joy has the passion. Because most of the films that they actually produce, she also plays the role of executive producer. So I don't see Grand Thought Pictures just faded off like that. I think Joy will keep the flag flying and the lamp burning. The light will still continue to shine. Chico was also known for encouraging young and upcoming actors. He never turned down any young upcoming actor. He always gave them that space, no matter how small it is. There's always a window. He will find something for you to do. He was known for that. So I think that legacy will continue. He has built quite a lot in the industry over the years. Quite a lot. Chico should be a book. for Nollywood. It should actually be a book for Nollywood that people should learn, whether big budget, middle budget, or high budget, or whatever you have. Chico was there. He was just there. He touched every single person in Nollywood today. There are some young actors who probably have never even met him, but somehow from distance he touched them, because by virtue of the fact that most of us worked with Chico, we also touched other people's lives. So it's a legacy that can never ever fade away.
Indeed. Talking about the legacy of Chico, and this is for you, Charles, the current generation of filmmakers, what lessons can they draw from his efforts so far?
Chico was a filmmaker who could turn water, who could squeeze water out of stone. I think he sort of understood the commercialism of Nollywood at a point in time when passion was ruling over business. By this I mean Chico could, like Segun has said, he could turn nothing into something. He could take a story from anywhere. He would understand movements and trends. So if there was something happening, if maybe an armed robber had been caught, a popular armed robber had been caught, Chico would do a film, and within the next 1 month is out on that film, and then the film would say. So he was his own. It was a way of being PRO. He was a moral trope by himself. He could do a film, and his films had those didactic themes: evil not triumphing and good always taking over, and all that. It was also Chico who made his films made some of those terms we use right now in popular culture on social media, very popular: to God be the glory, and a whole lot of other things. We must learn. The young actors, the young producers and directors coming in should understand one thing: Chico was a networker. He brought people together. He always got everybody together. He wanted everybody to progress. He used to say, "Guy, I always want all of us to progress. Because if I reach and you reach, you're not going to beg me for 5K. You're going to beg me for 50 million, and I'm going to ask you." That was the kind of person he was. He was a communal person. So I don't think the extent, the depth of the loss we have not understood that yet. We're going to get that in the next few days. But Chico made people out of nothing. He made stars, and it's a very sad situation.
Well, very sterling characteristics there of Chico. He was also nicknamed Mr. Prolific. Tell us how he got that title.
Which title?
Okay, so I guess Segun will get that.
Segun will.
Which title?
Mr. Prolific.
Oh, Mr. Prolific. Funnily enough, in the days I used to do voiceovers for movie trailers, and I was just talking about Chico, and I wrote Mr. Prolific. I don't know any about the person who called him Prolific, but I knew that I started calling him Mr. Prolific. When I was directed by Mr. Prolific, Chico Ejiro, I think that was how it started. Because I was always calling him Mr. Prolific, Mr. Prolific. And then Fred Amata joined at some point in time. I think that's how that name caught on, and it didn't change until he passed on.
Very good. Now, Charles, Nollywood is gradually gaining international attention, with movies made in Nigeria getting some nominations abroad as well. So, in terms of directing and production, what has been the journey like so far?
Well, I think in the past half a decade or so, you would have seen some marked improvements in what we have done in Nollywood. And with the streaming of our Nollywood movies on Netflix, as it were, which is the number one, as it were, in terms of worldwide acceptance, the streaming platform, we would see that Nollywood has improved. We've moved beyond where we had debilitating technical issues to now trying to assert ourselves in storytelling and cinematography. But there's still a lot to be done. I think the kind of stories we've been telling are sort of a little bit far removed from the old stories we used to tell, which captured the worldwide audience or the African audience. I think we need to go back to that and reinvent the kind of stories and put something that would also get the audience out there really keyed on, or keyed into the Nollywood narrative. But that be as it may, we also know that times are changing, and so a younger generation would come in and try on telling the stories. But the younger generation are actually fed by what they see from the Western films, you know. So we need to have that nexus. We need to have the nexus of culture, traditions, history, and something new, you know, to put out there. So maybe we need to go back to our African tales. We need to rekindle the African narrative, the African histories, which are that numerous and have not even been put on screen. But we need to do that, and I think that is where we should be going.
Well, again, we have to give our condolences to Chico Ejiro's family and to the entire Nollywood industry. Segun Arinze and Charles Novia, close colleagues of Chico Ejiro, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be watching.
Your love lives on inside of me. Didn't know today would be our last, or that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why.